He's kind of a mysterious figure, also known as the Shadow Man. They like to have these scary names. And he's very rarely been seen in public. Most people don't even know what he looks like. But his name is a big one. He's very influential and was one of the key planners of the October the 7th attacks.
Israel's military is still trying to confirm if one of Hamas's top commanders was killed in an airstrike. If his death is confirmed, Marwan Issa would be the most senior official in the militant group to have been killed in the war. Let's speak to Arieh Kovler, who's a writer and political analyst in Jerusalem. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Do we know anything about the circumstances of this attack?
Well, the Israeli military has actually given some details, even though nothing is completely confirmed yet in terms of the outcome. They say that they had intelligence that he was in a tunnel complex in the Khan Yunis area, and that they struck the complex. And they believe that he was there, and they think, or at least hope, obviously, that they have successfully assassinated him, if you want to say that, killed him. But they're still checking. The other piece of information that is kind of controversial in Israel is whether or not there were any Israeli hostages in the vicinity at the time. Again, the IDF says that they're pretty confident that there weren't, but they aren't completely sure. And on the Palestinian side, there does seem to be some confirmation that he was the target and he was in the vicinity. But as of yet, there's still no confirmation on the outcome and on his fate.
And what do we know, if anything, about Marwan Issa?
So Issa was was, I guess, the number 2 figure in Hamas's military wing, the Izzadim al-Qassam brigades, or the terrorist wing. He number 2 to Mohammed Deif, and number 3 on Israel's wanted list. So they're kind of then number 3 target. He's kind of a mysterious figure, also known as the Shadow Man. They like to have these scary names. And he's very rarely been seen in public. Most people don't even know what he looks like. But his name is a big one. He's very influential and was one of the key planners of the October the 7th attacks.
And what happened to the talk about the ceasefire, the talks that were ongoing? I mean, Joe Biden at least 2 weeks ago now said, it's going to happen by Monday, while holding an ice cream. That seems to have passed. Ramadan has started now. What is the latest on who's there and what they might be discussing?
So the talks haven't ended. They are ongoing, but they have, to a large extent, wound down, because it seems like that there are unbridgeable gaps between the two sides. The kind of Qatari, Egyptian, US core that has been trying to pull these talks together came up with a proposal, which Israel largely accepted, and ultimately Hamas was never on board with. So there's been a lot of pressure, and the pressure continues on Hamas to try and bring them on board with this proposal for a 6-week ceasefire that would include a release of Israeli hostages and the release of Palestinian prisoners, including some who have been convicted of murder and other terrorist attacks, increased aid, and various other things during that 6-week break in the fighting. What it seems like happening is that Hamas's bottom line is they're not interested in a deal like that. Any deal that doesn't include the complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and the guarantee that Hamas gets to stay the government of Gaza is not something that they want to talk about. And that seems to be their official position right now. So the talks are continuing, but it's unclear how any breakthrough is possible at this point, with the two sides so far apart.
And what has been happening outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque? Israeli police blocking hundreds of Palestinians from the mosque on Ramadan's first night. I suppose this would have been expected, that there would be some trouble there, but what do we know about what actually happened?
Look, it seems like there were the police, the police in a couple of streets made a particular operational decision in the moment that did lead to kind of some sort of low-level clashes. There haven't been a repeat of that since that first night. And so far, we're only 2 days in, or a day and a half in, the kind of Ramadan on the kind of Temple Mount compound, the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, has been okay. As we come towards Friday, it's Fridays that tend to be the big prayer days in Ramadan. There's normally a mass pilgrimage. It's only a few minutes from my house, to close off the street outside my house even. And those are the days when things are particularly dangerous, just because of the sheer number of people. As it stands, Israel is not reducing the numbers on the Temple Mount, despite heavy political pressure inside Netanyahu's coalition. the decision has been made to try and keep the mountain as open as possible, and keep Ramadan as normal as possible. And we'll have to see how that plays out.
Okay, Arieh, thank you very much. That's Arieh Kovler, writer and political analyst in Jerusalem.
Get your messages on Boris Johnson, the return of Boris Johnson to support Rishi Sunak campaigning in the north of England. There's a great little item in the diary, a political item in the diary column, Asma. It's about mid-Buckinghamshire.
Israel was checking if it had killed Hamas's second highest military leader in an airstrike in Gaza, media said, as prospects faded of a ceasefire to coincide with the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. If his death is confirmed, Marwan Issa would be the highest-ranking Hamas official killed by Israel in 5 months of war that have pulverized the Gaza Strip and killed thousands of Palestinians. Nicknamed the Shadow Man for his ability to stay off Israel's radar, he's one of 3 top Hamas leaders who planned the October 7th attack and are believed to still be directing military operations. Israeli army radios said the Al-Nusayrat camp in central Gaza had been bombed on Saturday night, following intelligence about Issa's location, and 5 people were killed. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz reported that Israel was checking if the fatalities included Issa. Neither the Israeli military nor Hamas officials immediately commented on the media reports. As Ramadan began on Monday, countries including the US and Egypt stepped up airdrops of aid, and United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres said international humanitarian law lay in tatters.
My strongest appeal today is to honor the spirit of Ramadan by silencing the guns and removing all obstacles to ensure the delivery of life-saving aid at the speed and massive scale required. At the same time, and in the Ramadan spirit of compassion, I call for the immediate release of all hostages.
Guterres warned Israel's threatened assault on Rafah could plunge the people of Gaza into, quote, an even deeper circle of hell. In Rafah, displaced Palestinian Fada Hamed said the first day of Ramadan was tough. She didn't have gas to cook on and food was too expensive.
If the first day of Ramadan has been tough on us, how will the second and third days be? We are calling for a ceasefire, not a humanitarian truce or anything else. We want to go back to our homes. We want to live the spirit of Ramadan like every year. We want to decorate and feel the joy of Ramadan. The children's happiness has faded away. They are used to Ramadan decorations on the streets and in homes and looking forward to Ramadan.
Gaza's health ministry says at least 31,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war broke out. That followed the October 7th attack, when Hamas militants killed 1,200 people, according to Israeli tallies. The United Nations estimates about a quarter of the Strip's population risks starvation, and the trickle of aid is barely scratching the surface of daily needs.